All right, hello everyone. My name is Sandra Del Rio, and I'm the Professional Programs Coordinator for the Ecological Society of America. Welcome to our informational session on ESA's Professional Ecologist Certification. Today, we hope to provide insights into the certification process, its benefits, and requirements, and that's followed by a live Q&A session to answer your questions. We also have members of ESA's Board of Professional Certification, BPC for short, joining us today, and they'll be happy to share their expertise and help answer questions. Now, before we jump into the details, I'd like to invite my colleagues to introduce themselves. John, would you like to go first?
Oh, sure. Hi, everybody. I am John Miller. I am ESA's Director of Membership and Communications and the certification program, as well as our professional development and a number of other program areas that are designed to help make people into, better ecologists with better career prospects in the science of ecology fall within the overall realm of the membership portfolio. So I've been working with ESA for now 6.5 years. I was just joking with the boss earlier today that our 7th anniversary is coming up. Have to get ourselves some nice gifts. And in that time, we've made a lot of changes to this program. We've made a lot of advances in this program, and hopefully we've been able to make things, more valuable for those who participate and, provide a high level of service. So definitely feel free to ask anything over the course of this meeting today. And, Sandra is always on point as a regular program admin, but I like to be directly involved in things that, are to the benefit of our membership. So if you do have questions or you have needs or anything like that, you can feel free to let me know as well. I'm putting my email in the chat.
Thanks, John. Arvind?
Hey everybody, I'm Arvind Bhuta. I work for USDA Forest Service here in Washington, D.C., so at their the national headquarters here. I work in an area called state, private, and tribal forestry. We work with our state partners, nonprofits, and landowners in trying to keep forests as forests. We do a lot of cool stuff here, and also in the ESA, I'm a certified senior ecologist. I've actually been that for a couple of years now. It's been a great opportunity. Looking forward to sharing some more information with y'all.
Thanks, Arvind. Kat?
Hi, everybody. I'm Kat Superfisky. I'm an urban ecologist based in Los Angeles, working right now for the city of Los Angeles. So we've got a lot of work that's going on right now currently if folks are tuned into the headlines. But I'm happy to take a little bit of time to tune into this webinar and answer any questions that you all might have about the certification process. I've been a member of ESA for a couple decades now, and have had the privilege and opportunity of being able to serve as part of the Board of Professional Certification for the last couple years. So I just went through the upgrade experience, and so I'm a senior certified ecologist now, so can also speak to getting in as a certified ecologist and then going through the upgrade as well. So happy to be a part of this. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, Kat. And sorry about that, I had a little glitch, I think, on my end. Great, thank you. I'd like to get a sense of who's joining us today, who are all of you. So I'm gonna launch a quick demographics poll. Please just take a moment to respond. This should take just a minute. Again, we just wanna have a sense of who's here today.
Hope that I can see that live.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Right, thanks. I'm gonna leave it for 10 more seconds. And I think those were 10 seconds. Great, thank you. It's just helpful to have a sense of who's here today. Now, let's dive into ESA's certification program. Right. So ESA established its professional ecologist certification program in 1981. So it's been around for around 44 years. It sounds incredible, but it's true. And here we're showing certificates dating back to 1984. So again, this program has been around for a while. And it's a growing community of around 700 certified ecologists, and these are professionals contributing to science and ecological science and practice in different sectors such as academia, the government, and the private sector. And this certification lasts 5 years. Now, why was it established and still exists? The program was created to provide professional recognition, credibility, and validation for ecologists across diverse fields. It's overseen by the Board of Professional Certification, like I mentioned, we call it BPC. So you'll hear me mention that term several times. The BPC ensures that the program standards and alignment with professional development needs. The BPC's responsibilities include peer evaluations, CEU evaluations, application reviews, and appeals and disciplinary procedures if needed. The BPC is chaired by a member and consists of up to 11 certified ecologists serving 3-year terms. And the program is supported by staff, namely John and myself, who handle marketing, CEU negotiations, application reviews, and program updates. So why do people get this certification? Well, people get this certification for many reasons, but here are the top ones. And this is based on things that certified ecologists themselves have shared. The first reason is for professional recognition and credibility. So many individuals see ESA certification as a way to gain an external validation of their qualifications, professionalism, and expertise in ecology. And this certification serves as a recognized standard showcasing competence and adherence to professional standards. Another reason that is constantly given for seeking the certification is for career advancement and opportunities. So people see certification as something that opens doors for career growth in various fields, like including academia, consulting, government agencies, environmental law, research. And so it enhances marketability to clients, employers, collaborators, and it also allows a broader network for work opportunities and research grants. Another reason people seek certification is for the validation of knowledge and experience. So ESS certification serves like a bridge, something that connects maybe your academic training, title, degrees, and the professional world. So it demonstrates your commitment to continued professional and scientific development. And another reason why people express they seek this credential is networking. So it fosters connections, networking opportunities within the ecological community, facilitating collaboration and engagement. And well, there's also support and networking within the worldwide largest community of ecologists, ESA. And now we'll show you some examples of testimonials from certified ecologists. John will share some insights on how the reasons for certification and the impact it has can vary for each individual. And then you can hear directly from the BPC members that are in this call.
Yeah, and I'll just go ahead and allow for the fact, I mean, I know there's a few people on this call, not just Kat and Arvind, who like know who I am and have interacted with me before, but I also have to add this disclaimer: not a scientist, not an ecologist whatsoever. I like what you do, but you know, I was a humanities major. I have a writing degree. Yeah, you know, the way I interact with you guys is you know, I want to give you nice things and I want to like help shape you, and I also want to help you tell your stories and really understand things better. Writing degree. So what's been really interesting to me is actually working with this program, and from the outside, having done like a lot of work over my years in and around workforce development, and seeing how and where people pursue different kinds of professional credentials to sort of like the betterment of themselves, either in learning new skills or in, you know, flexing a little bit and demonstrating the skills through a like in a codified official way through a professional credential is really interesting. In the ESA case, we pulled out these testimonials because these are folks who we've had different levels of interaction with, and I know Arona from having done some work with the student section previously, but it was just interesting, like in her read of things, she was looking to establish some credibility. She wanted to go and work in marine biology. She had, I mean, look at her credentials. She was great. She was already a graduate fellow working through a NOAA program that was coming up from an HBCU, and not a United States citizen. And there were some questions people have, let's go ahead and say it. People have biases, people have prejudices, and on paper, a Hampton is not a Harvard in the eyes of employers necessarily. So Arona got certified as an ecologist with the ESA and was able to open up some doors that way, because it showed that the world's largest professional society of ecologists said she met our criteria for what it takes to be, a person who practices and does ecology. Similarly with Nicole, Nicole came in at a higher level, but like working within the broader field of like applied science and a company like Interflume. This is in the private sector, there's a ton of competition for roles, but especially for clients, for folks who want to hire you. And whether you're working solo as a consultant, or if you happen to be working within a company, either way, there's like a lot of bidding for contracts. There's a lot of bidding for retention. And what folks like Nicole, or Sandra, if you skip to the next slide, you can see some of these these other testimonials. You see that you get this credibility that's there that is impressive to the people who are going to be doing the hiring and making those decisions about like how we're to allocate dollars necessary for folks to get the job, to do the job, and therefore have a successful career in ecology. It can mean other things to different people as well. John Campbell gave us this really nice testimonial. He's a senior ecologist, but you're seeing this is about like my work meets certain standards, and like with ESA, we have a code of ethics. We have it's literally a standard that says, you're going to be held to a pretty high standard of professional conduct. And that can be very meaningful for people, both on the hiring and on like the personal professional development side. And then for someone like Scott, like Kat is a municipal employee. Scott works for Seattle City Light. It's a utility company. And being able to just say and show that you have this kind of credential from a professional organization like ESA, or I'm not going to go like name names of competitors, but there are a lot of other entities out there that can provide this kind of certification for folks, depending on what it is that your particular specialty is. Scott does habitat restoration as an ecologist and does environmental consulting, and having the credential has made a big difference for his career, getting into that position and then also being able to advance in those kinds of roles. So when we talk with folks about how and why to certify, those are the kinds of stories that we feel really matter. And we see, like, it's not just the examples that are here right now, but you can ask a lot of folks in the directory of certified ecologists right now, has this made a difference for you? And, for a lot of them, it was a difference between me getting my job and not getting my job, or it was a difference between me getting my promotion and not getting my promotion. So it's the kind of thing that can really genuinely help you advance. And that's why we try to be very upfront about growing the program and growing participation in it, and in making it easier for people to participate in it so they can continuously grow and succeed.
And since y'all are here, Arvind and Kat, would you like to share why you decided to pursue certification and any benefits that you've noticed or want to share? I'll go with Kat first because I called on you for introductions, Arvind.
Sure. Well, John, you did a great job of really explaining just kind of the crux as to why I sought certification, and it really was the credibility. It was when I finished accruing my educational experience and set forth to then get professional experience, I moved to Los Angeles, and I recognized that I was seeking employment in kind of non-traditional places that ecologists would find themselves in. So, for instance, was working at a urban design and landscape architecture firm because I also have a background in landscape architecture and design. I started a nonprofit that was an environmental nonprofit. I've been working for the municipal government, and I'm actually within the planning department, not within like an environmental resource department or division. So given the fact that I saw myself as an urban ecologist, specifically going into these kind of non-traditional businesses or sectors and doing my work as an ecologist, I knew that I needed some sort of a stamp of approval that said, this person knows what they're talking about. And so for me, the certification has come in so much handy in terms of being able to show that I actually went through that training, because I also wear a lot of different hats too. So it helps to show my ecological expertise and knowledge and understanding, and to be able to then stand up in boardrooms or provide comment legally on things. For me, I've been able to use the credential to step into spaces that ecologists need to be in, but again, in kind of these more non-traditional instances. So I found it wildly helpful for that kind of credibility and for me to be able to do the work that I'm doing in these more kind of urbanized contexts.
Thanks, Kat. Arvind.
That was great to hear, Kat, and also, yeah, thank you, John, for the background. Yeah, and for me, when I first started out on certification myself, I had finished my doctorate, and I was looking around and trying to figure out where I wanted to go. And I currently work in the federal government, but prior to that, I had to start off my own LLC. I'm also a geographer by training as well, and I have my GS professional certification. And this certification also lended that credibility that I needed if I wanted to start my own business. And I did that for a while. And then I switched gears into the federal government space. But having that credibility is especially important, like it's already been touched on here by both Kat and John, is that, you're going into these spaces where you may run into professional engineers. You're going to probably run into landscape architects, certified wildlife biologists, certified foresters. And they've all been vetted through their organizations and have been vetted professionally and have been credited professionally for the work that they do. And I saw this really important because I identify myself as an ecologist and also a geographer. And I wanted to be able to talk with those people in those industries to say, hey, I've got that credibility. I know what I'm talking about. I understand the fundamentals of ecology, and I know how to apply them in the work that I do. In terms of career advancement and opportunities, obviously in our agency, and I think it's across the board, it's great to have those certifications. You don't need to have them, but I do think they help. Like for me, if I was looking at across applications, I do think having a certification to me would be very important. And it shows that you've been through the steps of trying to get that approved, your professional recognition and credibility there. And also I really have found value in it and being able to network and to reach out to other people and learn from those people as well that are not just in this agency, but outside of other federal that are in other federal agencies, nonprofits, cities, landowners. There's a whole bunch of different ways, and it's been very, very helpful in that aspect. So I really value the certification that ESA has here. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And so now that you have an idea why people get certified, let's see how you can get it and how this works. First off, there are 4 main levels of certification: ecologist in training, associate ecologist, certified ecologist, and senior ecologist. Additionally, there are 2 emeriti designations, which are honorary lifetime recognitions and follow a different process. So for now, we will focus on the 4 primary levels. ESA membership is not required to apply. There's also no deadline. There's no set due date. You can start and finish your application at your own pace. Just know that if you start an application, you will receive emails reminding you that you haven't finished. Applications are reviewed on a rolling basis, and they are escalated to the BPC if needed. Then once approved, certificates and letters are sent via email and regular mail to you. Everything is essentially online. There's no need to worry about paperwork. In terms of application requirements, there are two main things: education and professional experience. First, you should meet the minimum educational requirements. These are usually met with a bachelor's degree in ecology or a related field such as conservation biology or environmental sciences. The full details are on our website, but in essence, there's a minimum of credits that you should have for ecological sciences, for biological sciences, and for chemistry, physical science, and math. Then there's professional experience, which can range from a minimum of 1 year to 10 years, depending on the level you're going for. In the case of ecologists in training, however, professional experience is not required. You should just meet the minimum educational requirements. And in terms of materials, information, documentation to include in your application, you will be asked to include a cover letter. Each level has different information that should be included in this cover letter. That's also on our website, so please make sure to review that. Another thing that you will need is a CV or resume, and the information from your CV or resume will be used for other sections of the application. You will also need transcripts. They should include your graduation or degree award information, and you will also use the information in your transcripts for other sections of the application. And then 2 letters of recommendation. You technically don't need the letters. You need 2 recommenders, and then they will upload the letters, and we receive it. We receive the letters. And again, that's all online. So what happens after you get your certification? So our certification program has a continuing education component, or CEU. It was introduced in 2021. And so during the 5 years of your certification, you'll need to report any qualifying activities that align with our CEU framework. And CEU, again, that stands for Continuing Education Units. These activities are self-reported online through the ESA portal. There you keep a record of your professional development, and when it's time for you to recertify, you have those CEUs ready, and it's just a matter of recertifying. Your CEUs will accumulate quickly. That's just thanks to the broad and flexible nature of our framework, and you'll likely engaging in many of these activities already. And to facilitate your professional development, not only can you take advantage of the professional development opportunities through ESA, but you can and should participate in activities outside of ESA. And then to assist, we also have a list of approved CEU providers that's composed of different entities, including other societies, organizations, and academic institutions. But you can get your continuing education elsewhere and report it, again, as long as it fits the framework. And then after 5 years, you apply for recertification.
And Sandra, do you mind if I jump really quickly? There's a question earlier through the Q&A, and I just want to clarify, it speaks directly to what you're asking about. The recertification process is entirely through the continuing ed. So when at the end of your 5 years, technically you can fulfill the requirements prior to 5 years, but the certification itself is good for 5 years. So that at the end of that time, presuming that you have met all your continuing education requirements, you're then able to, you basically do a quickie recertification application or apply for an upgrade based on that continuing education.
And yeah, that's another option. You apply for the first time, then you can recertify at the same level that you got, but you can also apply for an upgrade. So that's another pro, I think.
It feels appropriate to ask this now as well. Kelly Farrell says, are there recommendations of who can submit a recommendation letter? Do they need to be a certified ecologist?
Oh, they do not have to be certified ecologists. They don't have to be ESA member. it should be someone who knows your work. They can attest on your ecological work in a unbiased manner. So it certainly should not be a family member. It should not be someone that works for you. But as long as they can be your colleague, they can be a coworker, they can be a past advisor or mentor, someone that you've done research with. And I will share the link to the exact language. We have more specifics on our website, but yeah, just someone that can attest to your work as a professional ecologist.
There's one more question regarding recertification. So while we have you, for those of us who certified before 2021, that is under the old regime, can you discuss recertification if we have not achieved the CEU requirements after the policy change was implemented?
Those who got certified before 2021, they do not need to report CEUs. Those that need to report CEUs are those that were certified in 2021 onwards. So in your case, again, if you were certified prior to 2021, you can just apply for recertification. And then if you get your recertification, then you will start reporting those CEUs. I hope that answered that.
Yeah, basically, because we moved the goalposts on a whole lot of people, we gave everybody one. One recert, you got one free upgrade. Then after you.
Exactly. All right, thanks. And so just to give you an overview of who gets certified in terms of geographical location, we have certified ecologists all over the world, but focusing on the US, the top states are Florida, California, New York, Colorado, but you can see that there are certified ecologists across the US. And now in terms of their occupation, what is their role? What do they do? We have individuals that work in academia and research positions. So for example, professors, PhD students, postdocs, we have certified ecologists in consulting or advisory roles. They are owners, even presidents of their firms, and others are project managers, just to name a couple of titles. We have folks in the field and technical positions. They hold titles like aquatic ecologist, environmental engineer, even environmental scientists, field ecologists, risk assessors, wildlife biologists, and we have folks in management or leadership positions. So they are founding principals. They have titles like senior environmental scientists or managers. And so where do they work? So in many different places, and here are some examples. Certified ecologists work in education and research institutions. They work in government and regulatory agencies. They work in environmental consulting. We have also folks that work in energy and utilities. We have certified ecologists that work in nonprofit organizations, and some are self-employed. And what do they specialize in? In many things. As you probably know, ecology is a very broad field. So some certified ecologists specialize in one of these, and some have a combination of specialties. And we're talking from applied ecology to landscape ecology, urban ecology, wildlife. And I like to say that it's from the A to the Z. We have ecologists that work in applied ecology, architecture even, and other things like zoology, which again, speaks to the nature of ecology as a field. And I think with that, it's time to open it up for questions.
Isha. In response to Wendy's question in the chat, So right now, the certification that we have is a certification in ecology. It's very broad in that respect. So your own personal background can be in a particular area of ecology, or it can frankly be related to ecology if you've fulfilled the course requirements of ecology. But right now it is fairly broad, and it's done in a general sense. I can't speak to specifics largely because we don't know them yet, but we are in the process of exploring some opportunities either to get into some particular, specific areas of ecology, or ecology as it relates to other fields. So like when Arvind was discussing his background and some of the people that he works with, for instance, like wildlife ecology would be something that would be interesting because our friends over in the Wildlife Society have their certified wildlife biology program, and there could be a connection there, right? We're friends with the American Society of Landscape Architects. Kat is a landscape ecologist, was a member of the International Association of Landscape Ecologists North America. Like there's opportunities for us to explore those things more deeply. And as the program continues to mature, I think that we're going to start to see opportunities for folks to get some of those more specialized kinds of certifications.
I am trying to answer the ones they're going into the Q&A.
And then to Kenyatta, hi. So we currently don't have anything that would work for folks who haven't yet earned some sort of college degree, because the sort of the most important opening requirement of the certification is the educational background with a certain level of undergrad coursework that is in ecology and related, like biological sciences. There's other stuff in there too, but right now we don't have any way for a person who doesn't have that on a transcript, I should say, to be able to get certified. Potentially in the future, we are, for instance, exploring like an exam option, or a college as it would pertain like to folks at different levels, sort of, I think, what you're getting at, but we're not there yet.
And I already answered it, but I want to address, there was one question on if you apply for certification at a certain level but don't meet some of the requirements, will your application automatically be considered for the next level? Yes. So you don't need to reapply. If you apply for the senior ecologist level and it's determined that maybe you don't meet the senior ecologist level requirements, you will be considered for the ecologist level. And there are no annual fees. What you pay for that application, that's gonna be good for those 5 years. And then when it's time for you to apply for recertification, you will pay the appropriate fee for recertification. Jackson has a great question. On average, how long after submitting an application does it take to hear back whether you've been accepted or not? So it depends. There are some applications where we get all the information. The thing that takes the most time, usually it's the letters of recommendation, right? Because it depends on your recommenders. If they're quick and they submit the letters, we might be able to give you a response practically right away. I mean, we try to give at least an update on a monthly basis, but if you fill your application and your letters of recommendation go in more or less at the same time as you apply, that's the best way to go about it. But we do try to provide an update at least in a month.
Sandra, do you mind if I address a couple of the questions that are currently in the chat?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm speaking right now to Trista. Hi, Trista. Trista says, I'm a professor at a small teaching university. I meet the educational requirements, but does my higher education teaching experience count toward the professional experience without having conducted formal research and data analysis? Yes. The background is the important part. We consider a career in ecology to be a choose your own adventure. You have your own pathway. We have folks who are certified who've never done any research whatsoever. We have folks who are senior ecologists who have never done any research whatsoever. I mean, they've probably done some, you know what I mean? But it hasn't been like their professional thing. They've been educators, or they immediately went into consulting and they built a business and they've continued to progress. And there are lots of ways to measure your progression over the course of your career. And teaching is certainly valuable and certainly one of those things, and that counts as professional experience. Volunteer experience, that is something that I think I'm looking directly at our board members here right now. When it comes to evaluating experience of a person in that professional context, the time after they finished their education, how would you evaluate volunteer experience? Oh, come on, don't be in a race to answer that one.
I can jump in and as someone who has done plenty of volunteer experience and not paid myself for a lot of the work that I do, it's still relevant. And I think the thing that I want to unmute and kind of flag and hope that you all absorb the most maybe from this webinar too is this is really where the letters come in handy, of where it's a lot easier for us to do a crosswalk of looking through transcripts and seeing the actual coursework that has been done. Where the professional experience comes in is in the cover letter that you all write as part of the application, as well as then in the letters that folks are supplying on your behalf, talking about your professional experience. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a paid opportunity of somebody even authoring a letter explaining. It could be, again, that you are consistently volunteering at a land conservancy and doing a lot of field-based work. Well, then you have, a paid office job, but you're doing that on your nights and weekends. We would love to know about that. And that's, again, where, think about how it is that you can utilize both your cover letter as well as then your letters of recommendation to help kind of supplement your application and to give us on the BPC who are reviewing your applications much more information about what it was that you did outside of just taking traditional courses that would line you up to be a certified ecologist at whatever level. So as again, somebody who we're not robots. Robots are not the ones that are checking your applications. It honestly is people like us on the screen. So the more that you can supply us with the stories and the information in those letters, the easier it is for us to then read through that application and then find even volunteer experiences as being relevant towards a certification.
Thank you, Kim. Tara asks, for certified ecologists, and I'm looking directly at Andre here, the certified ecologist, is it 2 years of experience on top of a master's or PhD, or can graduate work count as that 2 years of experience? Is my understanding, not being the program admin myself, but it's my understanding that it's 2 years experience on top of earning the degree. So when we've done the evaluations historically, and remember, I'm usually a spectator, other folks might be able to correct this. The clock basically starts when the last degree that you're using in the application itself has been awarded. So you say you finish your PhD program, you successfully defend your dissertation, you got the thing, you're awesome, call yourself doctor. That's a work experience. That's when that starts. You need 2 years subsequent to that point. Am I representing that correctly, Sandra? She's typing away, so I'm distracting her.
Yeah, sorry, I'm like answering the Q&A. Sorry, what was that?
So it's like Tara. So we have it's an interesting dialogue here in the chat right now, because Tara asked the question: you get a degree, master's degree or PhD,
Yeah.
then what it's sort of like, what counts as your experience from that point on in terms of like, what it's certification being awarded. As I described it, as the clocks basically starts from when that degree itself is awarded, the one that you're using in the application. But Wendy asked the great clarifying questions. If you worked between having a master's and a PhD, does that experience count?
if you met the minimum educational requirements, let's say with that bachelor's degree, and you were working while pursuing grad school, that work does count. As long as it's, again, the minimum educational requirements were met, you can start counting any experience that you had after that point. If it's part-time, that's also fine. It will be counted.
Arvind, a great question just popped up in the chat, and I'm encouraging you to pick that up. Yeah, you saw it.
Yeah, I'm reading that right now. Yeah, I mean, we would take a look at your application, Pam, and you know, if the coursework is there and you meet those qualifications, I think we would, and we have to have some conversations about the other coursework for planning and GIS. I mean, I do think, well, I mean, I've had my GIS coursework and also some of the experience that I've done uh, put into my certification. So yeah, I do think it's potentially it's potential there. Yeah. So apply and see, and we'll take a look at your coursework. We'll take a look at your, you know, the whole entire application package, letters, things like that. All that stuff is very important to try to be as inclusive as you can as possible.
And actually, there's a question in the Q&A, Kat, that maybe I don't know. The person has a professional role as a landscape architect, so maybe you can answer that one. Hopefully,
Yeah, I think I'm looking at the same one, and the question is digging in a little bit more to the recommendation letters and inquiring whether it makes more sense to get a more recent recommendation letter from someone who might not be an ecologist, or to reach back further into the time capsule and reach out to folks that maybe are older contacts, but with that ecological kind of training. My response is it kind of depends. This goes back to kind of the concept of, you want to make sure that your application speaks to your skills as much as possible. So I would definitely love to, again, receive a letter that is, you know, showcasing your current kind of efforts. Again, as Sandra mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, the recommenders do not have to be ecologists. They do not have to be certified ecologists. They have to be people who know you and your work experience. So without knowing your specific case 100%, I would at least recommend, for sure, again, getting kind of the most current folks that you're working with to speak on what it is that you do in your work life. How is it that you integrate ecology into the landscape architecture projects that you do? If you feel as though that doesn't adequately showcase all of the skills that you have as an ecologist as well, then that's where I say, well, it might then be worthwhile for you to, you know, dig up an older contact who can speak to maybe a part of you that you're not currently activating right now through your current work, but that you have that ability to reactivate if you were to, you know, go and work somewhere else. So that's where I say it depends, just making sure that you're helping us have the most kind of comprehensive understanding of all of your different skill sets, but making sure to, again, focus first and foremost on what are you currently doing and what have you been doing for, you know, the most recent years being the most applicable. And I'll just elaborate too on the one that John had kind of explained too. I did mention that, so I do have a couple degrees in science and in ecology, but I also have a Master of Landscape Architecture degree. And I also have friends who are the hybrids where they're ecologists then with planning degrees. Us going through the certification process, I was actually very pleasantly surprised to see how many of the required courses that you have to go through, at least for landscape architecture, do actually, you know, count towards some of the requirements. Obviously, my science degrees had to pick up the chemistry and some of those things that weren't necessarily being required through the landscape architecture degree. But I just wanted to emphasize what John said of, you know, even if you don't have just an ecologist or an environmental sciences kind of a traditional degree, still go through the exercise of, you know, trying to apply and seeing what works. And that's actually why I was inspired to join the Board of Professional Certification, because I was very nervous as an urban ecologist that my initial application was going to get declined because my research or my field-based experience is quite different from what other folks might be doing in, you know, these other types of ecological jobs. So I definitely always, you know, am encouraging folks to still go through applying and becoming a certified ecologist, because of the fact that a lot of these, again, kind of other types of career pathways and you know, credentials can definitely help.
And I was just answering, it was towards Pam's question on courses. If I think I'm short in a few courses, just I send the link, another link to the minimum educational requirements page. There you can see examples of what courses would be considered ecological sciences, what courses would be biological sciences, and what would be will fall under chemistry, physical science, and math. And I will add that it's just helpful to provide explanations. Even that there's the section where we ask for you list the courses to see if you meet these minimum educational requirements in the application. You will have a text box, and you can provide more context, more explanation in general. And this is speaking to other questions that I've had a chance to glance at. And if we don't answer something, I'll share or the email to get to the certification program directly. If we don't answer your questions or you have any follow-up questions, please email us. But I will say, just throughout the application, you should make the case as to why you should get the certification at the level that you're applying to. You're the best person that can explain why you're choosing this application at that level. And you will have multiple opportunities to just explain, provide more context to people that will be reviewing throughout your application. So if there is a gap in your work experience, for example, if you had low grades, just explain, and explain why you should get this certification. If there are any questions, like we do try to, you know, if we have any follow-up questions, something doesn't add up from an application, we go back to the applicant and seek additional information. But just try to, again, provide that context when you apply. I'm answering questions in the chat. No, I just answered if there's a limit in terms of character for the cover letter. No, we just ask that you, again, check that page with the different certification levels. There are certain cover letter details that we look for. Each level is slightly different, so just make sure to incorporate that in your cover letter. Let's see. Okay, you're welcome, Pam. Happy to help.
Andrea asked, does environmental compliance work at a power company apply toward work experience? It absolutely does. And I love that you bring that up, because you're seeing a lot of growth nowadays, like in like regulation and compliance kinds of work. And we would love to have more folks in the program who have a background with that, because we want to be able to develop some training content that will facilitate growth for folks like in that sector, and also flesh out our professional development, because that's like some really meaningful stuff.
Other question, and am I missing? Oh, I answered, the short answer is just send to the, uh, no problem, Kelly. I will send you to the web page. How do you judge which level of certification you apply for? Again, first thing you have to check is that if you met the minimum educational requirements. And then after you met that, let's say it was with your bachelor's degree and you got that bachelor's degree in May of 2020, any ecological work that you had after May of 2020, that counts. So add up how many years you've been working, and that's a way to gauge which level will be best for you. And I keep referring to this page because it has more details, again, for the content information to provide in the cover letter. That also varies per level. But yeah, the two things to check off is education and then experience. But if you don't have experience, there's always the option for the ecologist in training. I see something in the Q&A, but I don't see a question. I have a completed master's science in 2 different subjects: biological science, fisheries, and water resource management. Without sounding like education, I have 3 years. Well, okay, cool. Apply for certification. Can't wait. Let's see.
So almost give us something that's like really going to stump Del Rio.
Okay. Tell me. I'm ready. I've been preparing for 4 years. No difficult questions for me. Well, I'll share one. I mean, we still have almost half an hour. Happy to end early, but one question is like, if you got an education from an institution outside of the US, if you can still apply. Yes, provided that your institution is accredited and that all grades are reported as an equivalent in the grading system we follow in the US. And you should also convert your academic credits to the US system, and there's information or frequently asked questions page to do the conversion.
And that is a good one. And I'm glad that you explained that, because when that came up most recently in Board of Professional Certification meeting, it took a while to work through it. You know, like that at no time have we ever wanted to not like honor and recognize the earned credentials of folks outside of the United States, but it can be difficult. There are a lot of countries and a lot of different systems of measuring one's academic performance. So it's we basically, the board asks for your help in translating what your credentials mean, so that it makes an easier evaluation for them.
How would okay, we got a question. How would I count for things like a Cambridge style PhD where I didn't have explicit courses but did 4 years of research and work in ecology? I will defer this to the BPC. This would be probably something that the BPC would be looked in for to like figure it out, but I'm not familiar with a Cambridge style PhD, so I don't know if someone here can share more insights.
I'm not familiar with that either, so I guess it would involve more scoping out and trying to understand what that means and what qualifies, or if that qualifies. Yeah.
If the person who asked that would like to come off of mute so that we can have a bit of a dialogue and understand the specifics of the question better, you're welcome to do so. Just let us know who you are. Ah, okay. Hold on a second, Carter. Okay, Carter, you're allowed to talk.
Hi, all right, thank you. Yeah, so I did a, PhD in New Zealand, and so it's kind of like out there you don't have like explicit courses. You're basically just kind of almost a research associate for like 4 years, or assistant or whatever you would like to call it. But a lot of my work was in ecology, but then my official degree is in like animal sciences because I'm one of these weird like microbiologists who's been corrupted by ecology and now does like disease ecology kind of stuff. So I have a lot of different paths that don't really align with any certification. And so I've just kind of been like putting it all together, and now I work in this professionally, and I'm trying to like seek it certification, but I don't actually meet any of the educational requirements because I didn't start ecology until master's. And that's the only time I had like actual credit hour stuff. And then, you know, my whole PhD was just like one lump of quote unquote animal sciences. So it's a bit funky to like try to fit into these boxes. And I'm trying to figure out how I would do that for an application.
Yeah, I've got nothing on my end right now. I need to look at you know, you said you had a master's in ecology, but I guess your bachelor's was not in that. But my question would be, do you meet those minimum qualifications? And I don't know how we've had conversations about that in the past, right? So how would we work with that? Just need to have more conversations in the board about how that works.
Yeah, I was one thing I would add is like it's it seems very self-serving to be doing this, but I mean it genuinely. If you have questions about basically I'll put it this way, if you have questions about like kind of like maybe sort of where you fit, or is it can you apply, or are you qualified? Sometimes the only way to find out is to get those materials in front of the board for discussion. The only way to do that is to apply. Um, it's it can be, you know, obviously like kind of a little bit of a pain in the butt because there's administrative fee attached to it, but um it's the clearest way. And as a fail safe, one thing I will also allow is that um especially if you're like if you're like looking at like higher levels of certification, uh even if the board like either can't or does not determine that you have met that particular threshold, if you've met them at the other levels, they are always willing to award you the certification that they feel like does apply. So it's a little bit lower risk, but you know, we have a few every year. There's always a few that are like, wow, what a fascinating application. We're definitely escalating that for the board to consider because it's a tough one. But we welcome that, and frankly, we learn a lot of lessons from like a program administrative standpoint when those kinds of situations come up, and then we're able to apply the findings from that to future instances. We have a question in the Q&A about how might courses and research done in traditional ecological knowledge perspective meet qualifications for courses experience in CEUs. Now, I will let the members of the board themselves talk about like the value from a course perspective, but I can tell you from a CEU perspective, we definitely consider TEK like is equally valid when it comes to doing continuing ed. I just don't know enough about the way it's taught per se to be able to speak to it from that perspective. But we've had people submit CEU from having taken part in, you know, different kinds of TK workshops and things like that. And it's certainly something that we take seriously as ESA. If you paid attention to our programming over the past few years, we've really tried to embrace TK both from a practitioner standpoint as well as sort of like a value standpoint in the way that we approach Indigenous communities in North America in particular, but with a global mindset as well. But I'll let my colleagues who are much more knowledgeable about the educational side speak to that, if they can.
Yeah, and I can't recall that, at least while I've been on the Board of Professional Certification, we had a case where someone was trying to use traditional ecological knowledge classes towards the educational requirements. I believe thus far it's only been towards the continuing education units. So this is, one of the cases, kind of how John alluded, where if an individual does have that as the educational training, that would need to come to us as the board and review. And since I don't think, as long as, I'm dusting the cobwebs off in my head and I can't think of a case like that, we would then, that's the point of having the BPC as well, is to then not just do business as usual of stamping and approving, but to then be able to agendize that and really dive into that. So like John said, another plug for try to apply. And again, we'll then see, where are you trying to fit these certain things in? And then we're going to do our due diligence and our homework on the back end to figure out how to potentially work with that.
See, they tried to give us stumpers right at the end, but they couldn't do it. We had answers.
Um, I'm Pam asked what percentage of people that apply are accepted. I don't know in percentages, but I'll share at least in 2024, around 120 applications were approved and 3 were rejected. So I don't know what's that percentage wise, but a good percent.
It is a high, I mean, it is a high level of acceptance, but that's, I think, also I like, because I helped to do it. I like to think we do a pretty good job of explaining what the requirements are, and folks don't come in just plain hoping for the best, and they clearly have, like, if it's crystal clear that the person hasn't qualified, then why waste your time? Why waste your money? In my field, as an association executive or association administrator, whatever you want to call it, like, we have a certification as well. I just sat for the exam for that. I studied for months for that exam, despite having more than enough experience and despite having, checked every other box, and I still have no idea if I passed. Like, they fail a substantially high percentage of people. That's because it's an exam component, and it's easy to flub an exam for X number of reasons. You can't flub a transcript. Transcript already says you did it, it's, you're going to get letters of recommendation. In fact, Sandra, I think there's a not insignificant number of the folks who haven't had their applications approved have been not approved entirely on the basis of letters not being received. That's if I'm remembering it correctly.
Yes. Yeah, so make sure that your recommenders know you're listing them as recommenders. Yeah. So, right. Any other question?
I will also just add on to that it's also it's a fairly fluid process, meaning, like, if we receive an application and we do feel like it is lacking something or we need additional information, we seek that. And rather than just 100% saying, nope, thanks, but no thanks, we reach out to the folks to then get that supplemental information so that we can best look at the application and determine, which is, I think, then why we have that high retention rate of accepting so many folks, because we go through those steps. But to make it easier on all of us, yes, please do your due diligence to put together at least an application that hopefully has everything in it the first time. But we do, reach out to folks if there is something of concern that could potentially be leaning us towards a non-accept in order for us to get the amount of information necessary to know.
Any other questions? We still have time, but if there are no more questions coming in, I can end early. There is one question nobody has asked. It's how do I apply? What's the link for that? Right there. Yes. So again, everything's online. I just had to oh yay. Yes, Trista, can't wait. Yes, so that's linked to our application system. I don't see any more questions. So I just want to thank you all for joining us today. Thank you for your thoughtful questions and engagement. We hope this session has provided valuable information to ESA certification process and its benefits. A special thanks to Kat and Arvind, two of our BPC members, for their support and dedication in making this program a success. We appreciate your time and interest, and we encourage you to reach out to us if you have any further questions. You can always email us at cert@esa.org. That's cert, like short for certification, CERT@esa.org. Best of luck in your certification journey, and we look forward to welcoming you to the community of certified ecologists of the Ecological Society of America. That's a mouthful, but bye.